It really doesn't matter what you turn oxtails into. I'll let you know one thing.
I'ma eat it.
Today we're gonna make oxtail taco grilled cheese sandwiches. You're gonna need to pick up about 4 pounds of oxtails. I like to freeze them about 10 or 15 minutes before I use them. That way the fat gets hard and makes it easier to cut off. Then I like to rinse it off in some water, wash it with some lime, and then let it soak in some water. That way it can leach the blood out. Now we're gonna make a quick green seasoning to marinate the oxtails in. We're gonna make that using 1 green pepper, about 7 cloves of garlic, half a bunch of cilantro, and about 1 bundle of green onions. Once you get all of that chopped up and put in the blender, we're gonna pulse it with a little bit of water. That way we can make it all come together. It'll help it stick to the meat and disappear when we cook it. I also like to add 1 rough chopped tomato to the oxtails while they're marinating. Now we're gonna pour out all of that water that the oxtails were soaking in and add this sandwich goat taco seasoning and also some pepper and some accent. You could leave the accent out if you don't like MSG, but I really feel like it deepens that meaty flavor in the oxtails when they're stewing. And lastly, we're gonna add a few scoops of the green seasoning and the tomatoes before we put it in the fridge and let it marinate. I personally like to let it marinate for a whole day. You could do a few hours, however long, whatever knocks your socks off. So now that we're at the next day and the oxtails have marinated for 24 hours, we're gonna start building the stew for the oxtails. So I like to add in some chopped onions. We're gonna cook in some more of that taco seasoning. Also, we're gonna add a few dashes of some oregano. Now, if you know anything about roasting spices, it really develops and changes those flavors, especially when you get those burnt bottoms at the bottom of the pan and then you scrape it up with some water. So now we're gonna add enough water to cover the oxtails. I would say about 6 to 7 cups of water because you're going to want to keep adding water later as it goes down. You're going to want to slow and low that on the stove top for about 4 hours. While we wait on that, we're going to start roasting our peppers and our tomatillos for our salsa. But make sure about every hour and a half you're checking your oxtails. About 2 hours in, I like to add the green seasoning. That way we can add more flavor to this. Oxtails are really fatty. After a few hours of stewing, it's going to be a thick layer of fat. You're going to want to skim all that off. Also, it's a good time to check for salt and salt it properly. Back to the salsa verde I was talking about. Gonna want to add all those roasted peppers, tomatillos, and garlic in. Also gonna add a fresh bunch of cilantro, some oil to emulsify, avocado, some lime juice, and a nice dollop of some sour cream. Blend it until it gets creamy like that. That salsa is good on anything, I promise you that. It's been about 4.5 hours, and the oxtails are right where I want them. So what I'm gonna do is turn the heat on high to start reducing that gravy. Meanwhile, I'm gonna start pulling the meat off of the bones. Then I'm gonna separate the meat from the juice. That way when I'm building my sandwiches, I ain't got no soggy sandwiches. Now y'all should know how to build a grilled cheese, but in case you ain't know, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some of that green salsa on the bread, put a nice amount of that Chihuahua cheese. That Chihuahua cheese melts really good. It's like some good stringy quesadilla cheese. And then we're gonna put meat, cheese, more salsa, put it on the pan. Now we're gonna toast it and eat it. Sometimes I just get tired of eating the same old thing and I be wanting to remix some food. So there's a oxtail curry that I normally make. And then I was like, I could make the oxtails the same exact way, but just taco flavor. Shred the meat, put it on a sandwich with some cheese, and that's gonna be fire. And the crazy thing is, it was. That sandwich goat seasoning really make everything taste better. And you ain't gotta use it just on sandwiches. But y'all, let me know, what is y'all favorite food remix? Like, what do y'all be mixing up and be making in y'all kitchen? Let me know.